Sahara and Tobias's date featured scuba diving on the explosion of Ecstasy Island. Every time Sahara thought about the ridiculous names of the tour sites, she smiled. They were on a double date with the redhead Thomas and Marielle. They were told their guide had gotten sick, so 3 guides had teamed up to take both couples. The boat took them a few miles offshore. Once they arrived at the dive spot, the blue fog appeared. Its creepy essence infiltrated the entire area. Tobias's body tensed. Apparently, he wasn't a fan either. Sahara scooted closer. The fog is spooky. I couldn't agree more. Brazil, the female guide in charge, distributed a wetsuit to each of them. The fog hadn't let up in the least, consuming them completely. Sahara shivered, still stumped. How could she see so clearly in such a heavy mist? As Tobias moved his palm back and forth, it appeared to take on a blue glow. In fact, the entire group looked illuminated in a vibrant azure light. How strange, Sahara thought, shaking her head. Sahara turned her head from side to side, hearing whispering. She was having difficulty making out what multiple voices were saying all at once. Don't be scared to give in to your desire. Did you say something? She asked Tobias. No. His alluring brown eyes appeared glazed over and full of desire as they raked over her from head to toe. Sahara couldn't help but ogle him in his wetsuit, too. All his muscles were bulging. His entire body glowed in a blue haze, and it was calling to her. Suddenly, a potent desire took over. He was so close. Sahara wet her lips. If she leaned up and kissed him, she was certain he'd kiss her back. They seemed to be on the same page, caught up in an enchanted spell. Marielle's voice was the only thing that stopped them from kissing. Marielle was not shy about checking Thomas out. Sliding her hand across his arm, she said, Thomas, your biceps look even bigger in that tight swim jumper. Her palm glided over his chest. Oh, so firm. Thomas shifted in his seat. You look nice also, he offered. Come to think of it, your lips look soft too. Leaning in, she closed the distance, placing her lips on his, and parting his lips with her tongue. Damn, we need to catch that on film, the cameraman, Gizmo, said. Both cameramen had been lounging around while they waited for the group to get settled. Trying to get closer to record, Gizmo damn near broke his neck, tossing the camera on his shoulder. Their kiss only lasted briefly. Thomas's complexion was as red as his hair. He lucked out that they'd broken apart before the camera could record them kissing and telling. It didn't faze Marielle. I was right. She grinned from ear to ear. You guys will have to save the lovey-dovey for later. Cole, one of the assistant guides, said, We're about to get started. Marielle giggled, tickled pink. Is she on something? Sahara whispered. Her eyes are wild. Possibly, Tobias replied. The group followed the guides to the water. Brazil gave directions for the dive. So, that's how the oxygen gauge works, she instructed. Actually, that's the old-school method, Brazil. Cole, her assistant, chimed in. I'll explain the newer, better way. That's not necessary, Cole, Brazil bit back. I'm a firm believer, and if it's not broken, then don't fix it. Cole smirked at her. What was his problem? It was not the first time he'd contradicted her in front of them. He must have problems taking orders from women. The other assistant, Fiona, just let them hash it out, remaining neutral. Cole's male-dominant attitude got him in a world of trouble. Brazil had cut the dive short, stating she'd seen a shark in the water. No one argued but Cole. The group double-timed it back to the boat. Like a dumbass, Cole refused to get out of the water. Brazil pointed to the shark fin, trying to prove to Cole what she'd seen. Still in the water, Cole spat, You cut our dive short for that little thing. It's only a baby. Harmless. Is he crazy? Sahara asked, her mouth hanging open. It's a shark. Regardless of the size, it has teeth and can bite. There's no blood in the water, so it won't bother us if you don't provoke it. Let's finish the dive, Brazil. I don't know why you took this job if you couldn't handle a bit of sea life. Cole is off his rocker, Sahara thought, her eyes growing wider. I swear, Cole, I've had it with you. Get out of the water, Brazil demanded. I think you should listen, Fiona agreed, trying to reason with him. Yeah, stop being a dick, Mariel said. Thomas chuckled and Tobias shook his head. You guys are overreacting. Nothing is gonna, Cole shouted as the shark pulled him underwater. Holy shit, Sahara yelled. What a fucking idiot, Gizmo chimed in. The other cameramen began recording. Cole's upper body came up to the surface. Brazil retrieved a long steel pole. At the edge of the boat's swim platform, she yelled for him to take a hold of it. Cole was beating his fist repeatedly into the water, attempting to get away from the shark's grasp. A male staff on board shot a harpoon weapon into the water. It hit the shark on the top of its fin. Tobias and Thomas rushed over to assist. The shark must have finally let him go, because Sahara saw the fin move away quickly. Cole lay floating with his eyes closed. Brazil and another crew member swam to him, and they brought him on board. Sahara was scared to look, but she couldn't help it. A huge section of Cole's thigh was missing, and blood was splattering everywhere. They laid him on the ground. Brazil and Fiona used some rope to create a tourniquet and worked on him the best they could with the first aid kit. Get us to shore now, Brazil yelled. Someone call a med team to be on standby and turn that camera off. This is not appropriate to air. Sahara stood by Tobias on the side with Thomas and Mariel. Sahara grabbed Tobias's hand. He gave it a gentle squeeze. Shivering, Cole was whining and had the nerve to try to blame Brazil for choosing a poor dive site. Give it a rest, Sahara thought, exhaling loudly. She didn't feel bad for him when Brazil jabbed him a little harder than necessary in his arm with pain medication. He is lucky to be alive. Sahara's mouth formed into a hard line. At least you didn't lose your whole leg, Mariel offered. Ugh, I can't look anymore. I think I'm going to be sick. Mariel turned her head into Thomas's chest. He rubbed her shoulder gently. Thank God for small favors, Cole barked. Sahara smacked her lips. Instead of being grateful, he'd rather foist the blame onto someone else. People like him never learned. An ambulance was waiting on shore. They rushed Cole to the nearest island medical facility. Lucky for him, they said he would make it. Facing Tobias, Sahara said, This has been the most thrilling date. I gotta agree. I did enjoy myself for the most part, minus the reenactment of Jaws. Sahara's amber irises sparkled. She loved Tobias' sense of humor, even in the worst of situations.